All right, Megan. So this week we've got Erin. I like to throw the K in there because it's in your Instagram handle. Erin K. Bailey, who is the founder of Momentum Management. And I mean, you're a run creator. You do it all pretty much. Like you're in this space. We're in an adjacent space, I would say.
Yeah. I'd say so.
We love fitness. We love running, and we like showing people it. So.
Totally. You guys are just like the OGs. You guys are just titans in the space. So
That's very, very nice. So we didn't actually see you at the running event.
I saw her.
Saw you on a giant photograph at the Reebok booth,
which was news to me. It was like the second booth I saw when I walked in, and I was like, "Oh, I'm here in a big way this trip," and I had no clue. So
wait, so they don't tell you like, "Hey, we're gonna have a giant photo of you up.
Stop by."
Yeah, right. I wish I had got a heads up. No, so I also am a fitness model. Been doing that for years. So that was a fitness model gig, which is interesting because like fitness model, I'm hired as like a blank canvas. Like they don't care who I mean, I don't mean that in a negative way. Like it's just they're not hired for Bailey. So that shoot was a shoot almost a year ago I had done for them as a model. And so for them to use it in a place where I was showing up in a different way was actually like very, very cool. It was a nice like little full circle moment.
So that's interesting. So did you start off as a model? Like what, like let's go backwards a little bit. So you're standing around and someone's like, "Hey, let's take a picture."
Actually interesting. So I started fitness modeling, this is probably 8 years ago now. This is one of the OG things I did. And I did it in the way that like when I was entering kind of like the fitness professional world. So I was like a personal trainer. I taught group fitness. That was always my side hustle on top of like marketing for health and wellness companies. That's always been kind of the main gig. I was interested in fitness modeling. Nothing was kind of coming of it. You essentially submit some images to agencies, whatever. I wrote this blog article that happened to go viral. That was very Me Too movement era before the Me Too movement happened, called What Do We Deserve? And it was really sharing these personal examples of times I had been experienced like street harassment, which is like the non-physical kind, and like on runs at the gym, things like that. The blog article went mega viral, literally was everywhere. And Reebok reached out to me. They were actually the first photo shoot I'd ever done. They reached out to me because they wanted to have some real faces in like an upcoming shoot and campaign they were doing. So I thought it was the coolest thing of all time. And I was like, absolutely. I've been trying to do this anyways. And it was a shoot in Maine. And I ended up road tripping with a girl who was a legit model. And I picked her brain. Her and I became very fast friends. And so yeah, we did the shoot. I was 6 other models. I thought it was very cool. And a bunch of the models were signed with this one agency, SLU, which is a big fitness modeling agency spun out of Nike up in Portland years ago. And they saw me in the background of these photos and signed me from there. So that's kind of how it started. And then, you know, finding that Reebok's still very much in the picture.
That's fascinating. I guess we should mention you're in New York, right?
Yeah.
So that's your base. So when you say road trip into Maine, it's still pretty far, but it's not from California or Portland.
Yeah. I was in Boston at the time. I've been in New York 2 years. I was in Boston the 8 years before that. And I mean, you know, Boston's like the hub of running shoe companies and shoe companies. So did a lot more like work in that world when I was there.
So when you wrote that article, that was living in Boston that you felt like, and I'm guessing you felt like it was difficult to get around without being harassed and at that time. So we're talking, what year was before the Me Too movement? Because we had the...
Well, what time did that article come out?
Okay, so I was like 20, I was 24. This is like 8 years ago, 8 or 9 years ago. So the Me Too movement happened about 2016. It was like a year after. Okay. And I mean, there's a lot of other work that had been happening in that, you know, moving up to that point. There was a lot of voices in that space. And I think it's something, I mean, to be frank, women getting catcalled it's not over, you know, like it's definitely not better. And I think it just was a big moment of like, I think women started to feel like they had a voice to talk about things like that. And also I think it struck a chord when women are in situations where they're running and in fitness and in gyms and doing things to empower themselves and make them feel better. And then all of a sudden these outside voices are here to belittle them and control them.
Oh, wow.
There's something about that I think is also really powerful. So I think it just kind of struck open a moment where we could finally start to talk about these things that women experience. And I don't think men always realize how often women experience these things. And so I think there was a lot of just like kind of a little bit of an awakening, I think, to some of that.
Yeah.
So backing up to, because you said you were like in this fitness world, and like how did you, growing up, were you doing sports? When did running come into your life, all that?
Yeah, I grew up playing tennis. That's my main jam. So all the fast twitch muscles. And ran track to like stay in shape for tennis. And then dabbled into running more as a way to spend time with my parents. Both my parents were runners, and that was something they would do together. So they would like go pick a half marathon in like Kiowa and then go like run it together. So it was like it was a cute, wholesome thing that I always saw them do. So I would run. I'm from Asheville, North Carolina. So
Oh, wow.
free trail running, so beautiful. Yeah. So we'd go home and run trails with mom and dad. But I got into it while living in Boston. I mean, you watch the Boston Marathon and you can't not want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
So that was my like foray into running. I was like, pretty much had never run a race before and was like, Boston Marathon, like 0 to 100 is kind of how I roll. So I ran in 2017 for a friend's charity, which was amazing, but it was just like a hard race, right? I wasn't a runner. It was just marathon's incredibly difficult. And I was like,
Yeah, I'll just run this one.
Yeah.
That again, right? Yeah. So I said I wouldn't do it again unless I kind of got an opportunity to it. And then sure enough, got an opportunity in 2019 to run the New York City Marathon, but still wasn't like running consistently. Also a hard race. So it was really like COVID. I was one of those people where I was like a casual runner, dabbled in the run community, but I very much was like in the fitness community that would touch running. And then COVID and all of our gyms shut down. I couldn't teach anymore. And so I got into running, and that's when I hired a coach because I just wanted to build consistency, build that base. And I didn't race for the first year and a half. I just worked with her and learned a lot about running and a lot about my body and what I enjoyed about it. And worked with Mary Johnson. I don't know if you guys know her. Amazing stuff with her. Still work with her now. So yeah, I feel like that's kind of when I got interested in running and also running and started to kind of share more about it. And now it's my whole life. So
I want to take you back to Asheville. Okay. Yeah. So we went and stayed at Lake Lure.
Yeah.
And it like there's no direct straight roads there. Like everything is up and down and curved. Like if you're going 3 miles away, it takes like a half an hour by car just with how many turns it is. Where do you run in Asheville?
So Lake Lure is a little bit outside.
Okay.
Did you guys spend like any time like downtown or?
Is that Blowing Rock or what was the rock we went to? The one that we climbed up to the. What's that?
I said that's still a little bit outside. There's like a down proper of Asheville.
I don't know if
Wait, what was the big mansion? There's a big mansion.
Fillmore?
Yeah.
Okay. Closer. Yeah. That's closer.
Closer.
Okay.
I don't think we ever spent time like downtown though, to your point.
So I was in the sticks.
You Asheville, actually. You went to all the surrounding.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I grew up like in Asheville. Like our house is like next to the mall. So there's the River Arts District, which is like a cool, funky part of Asheville, and there's a river that runs through it, and the city's built these really awesome pathways all around it. So you can do like loops around the river. I mean, you can easily 10 miles around there, and it's like it's mostly flat because everything in Asheville is really hilly. I mostly run that, and then like if I'm going home for easy miles, that's kind of where I'll loop around with friends and stuff. And then there's a trail called the Hard Times Trail, which is a really nice like one in the woods near the Arboretum. So yeah, there's some.
All right, cool.
And parents are still there, so that's still where you go back home to visit. Yeah.
Yeah, mom and dad are still there.
There's got to be an airport because that drive would be too long.
There's an airport, and now as of like the last year, 2 years, there's direct flights. There's a lot of direct flights.
Nice.
New York. I can be door to door in like 3 hours.
That's pretty good.
That's awesome.
Pretty cool. Pretty good.
Does New York feel like home to you now?
That's a long pause.
That's a heavy question. So I've been here 2 years. The first year was hard. I think New York is just a hard city to integrate into. I now have I'm in Greenpoint. I found my pocket in Greenpoint. It's like a very slow suburbia pocket of it, but I can still be in Manhattan in 25 minutes. So I think it's starting to feel more and more home for now, but I don't think I'm in my early 30s. Like I couldn't imagine having a family here. Like that sounds like it blows my mind to think about the amount of money parents must spend to like have a family here. So I think it's like exactly where I want to be right now. Exactly where I want to build my business. It's the mecca of running. It's a really fun place to be like building something. So in that way, home right now, totally. Home in 5 years from now, no idea.
Well, tell us a little bit about momentum management.
Yeah. So we are a marketing agency. We work at the intersection of running, influence, and impact. So I started this about 1.5 years ago, and my background has always been in working in marketing, social media marketing, community marketing for brands, mostly startups, but did a couple years at E216 on the digital team. So
I did not know that.
Yeah. I was on the team. Did you guys know E216 Studio? You heard of that app?
Studio?
No, I'm guessing it was E216 entry into the fitness world, though.
Yeah, basically E216 purchased Runkeeper.
Yeah, we know about that.
So, and then that became their digital team. So then they basically, after that happened, they hired myself and a couple others to we were going to build out a suite of apps. That was the vision.
Oh.
So I was pulled on to be their head trainer, head of content, and so we built out E216 Studio to be the workout training app to counterbalance Runkeeper, and then we were going to have a bunch of others. This is still 6 or 7 years ago, so it was still early-ish then, but it was such a fight to get to anywhere at that point. So we launched it. We did audio. I have audio-guided programs on Runkeeper still, so still do a lot of audio coaching there. But yeah, had a couple years there, and then just we got other things. But anyway, so I love the E216 team. I was work with them a lot. So I've always kind of had this pull of wanting to do more impact-based work. And felt like when I was working in-house at other companies, they only take it as far as they want to take that. And I just always wanted, it always was a bigger priority to me than the other teams I was on. And I think I wrestled with that a lot and realized the bottom line, a lot of these companies are just in business for something else. They're not in business to make a different type of impact. And so living through kind of the social justice COVID movement, I really had this strong pull of wanting to support creators with influence, talk about things they really cared about. So, I mean, creators, influencers, they're one-man shows. They're creating all their content, they're doing all their deals. They don't have a PR team, they don't have a crisis comms team. When something happens, they misstep, whatever, it's on them, and it's really hard. And we're living in an age now where we're, as consumers, we're holding brands to these really high standards, and we're starting to hold creators to those same standards. And as one-man shows, that's a really hard place to be in. So I built this agency really starting in the talent side, and we're really heavy in talent management. So want to support creators that we felt needed to have their voices elevated, deserve bigger platforms, really are trying to do good work. And how can we support them not only on their brand deals and monetizing that and creating some financial freedom for these people, but also using them to talk about things they really, really care about. So it's not our agenda we're pushing. It's very much whatever they believe in, how can we help you integrate that to your content? How can we help create opportunity for that? And so that was really the catalyst of building this agency that just feels a little different. It's not just kind of I think agents and managers it can sometimes have an icky connotation, and that's so not what I want to do, and so not who we are, and wanting to really support not only these voices that matter, but also building what does diversity in running look like, and really supporting creators that are diverse in all sorts of ways, right? Pace diversity, body diversity, ethnic race diversity. So we've built a roster that hopefully is continuing to look more like a holistic running community. So talent management is a big part of it. We also do some brand consulting, supporting race groups on creator strategy, and brands on some of their influencer creator campaigns and things like that. So most fun I've ever had working.
Okay, so I totally understand this desire to want to create this business where it, functions the way that you want and it accomplishes the things you want, but actually getting started, like, were you just like one day like, F it, I'm gonna do my own thing?
So, kind of. And I will say, like, I've switched jobs a good bit in my career. So I think pivoting and changing and doing different things is really comfortable for me. I've done it a lot.
Okay.
I've had a couple stints where I've worked for myself before too. So I think a lot of those things that typically feel really scary, I mean, they're still scary, don't get me wrong, but like that's a more comfortable place for me to play. So starting my own thing, I kind of just took a leap of faith with it. And I signed the first three creators were all people I really knew. One I had just known through the TikTok world, Caitlin Keene, and then two others I'd worked with for years. So I had enough kind of clout in the space that it didn't feel scary to start something. But my goal was to slow roll it while I still had my other job. Things took off pretty quickly, and that's where I was able to pivot and go on my own. And I was like, let's see what happens for 90 days. And I felt confident enough. This isn't going anywhere. Like I could go do something else. Like I had to, solid enough network. I felt, brave enough to do that at least. And for 90 days, I've never worked so hard in my life. Like I asked for so much. I leaned on my network in such a big way. I mean, anyone that was willing to take a call with me, I was jumping on the phone with them. And you just kind of figure it out. And I mean, I made a bajillion mistakes. I'm still making a million mistakes. It's still only like, right? Like it's still in infancy.
Well, that's a good question. What's one of your biggest successes and one of your biggest mistakes?
Okay, biggest success. So we last year, one of our biggest clients was Planned Parenthood of Greater New York. So that's like perfect dream client that we wanted to work with. I had run the marathon for them the year before, and so had all these ideas of things we could do to better support the marathon team. Pitched it to them. They ended up hiring us, and so we got to support their marathon team last year. So that was like dream project. We supported 47 runners. We raised over $160,000. Had an incredible weekend. Like it just was. I was like, this is exactly the work I want to do, right? Like this is it. And I'm really excited to get to like they're continuing with us. We're going to do even more in 2024. So like
that's great.
That feels like such a win, right? Yeah. We've got influencers running with us. We're pulling in that network. We're raising a lot of money. We're in the running space, getting people excited about all those things. Like, couldn't imagine more fun. On the flip side, I think biggest missteps, to be honest, I mean, we've had a handful. We probably have lots of handfuls, but the biggest ones happen when like I'm doing things that just aren't aligned in that like Venn diagram we talked about, right? Like we've taken some brand clients for consulting projects that just like aren't in this space, but like it's things we can do and things we can help, but like they'd be in food or they'd be in beer or they'd be in something else. And like, it just would be like, it would just feel hard, or like we couldn't get them the results they really wanted, or like, it just wasn't in this like alignment. Same thing with talent. Like we've taken a couple talents that kind of are out of our, like, we do mostly running and then a little bit of fitness, aren't in those landscapes. And like, it just wasn't like expectations and level setting wasn't hitting. And again, like it almost was just like friction. You could just feel this constant friction where no one's winning. And it's like when we make decisions that are really based on like those three things, like do we think we can help someone and they work in these three arenas of like that running, influence, and impact, things kind of fall together and things tend to work out and they really all feed each other. When we're trying to do too much, and it usually is honestly like we're a business too, we need to make money. So sometimes we're taking things based on monetary needs. Then it's not fun anymore, right? No one's winning. It's not fun anymore. And like, that's not why we started this thing. So no tangible examples there. But
no, I get it.
We
totally
went through the
that.
same thing. Like I feel like when we were started and we were focused so much more on the marketing side, and we would take on clients that fell outside of the running world. And not only was it not fun, but because it wasn't fun, it wasn't as successful, and it would take more time. And it's just like,
and takes away from your you don't realize, but that little distraction slows you down. Like at the time, it's like, you're excited because somebody's like complimenting your work, wants to work with you, excited to work with you. And then you're like, oh, and they don't get it. And you're just like, oh. Like when you have to convince someone of something that you know will work and that you can prove works. And even sometimes you do it and it's working and they can see the results, but they're like, meh. And you're just like, are you kidding me?
Totally. And I keep reminding myself, I'm like, I started this thing to like do work that was fun. Mm-hmm. And like I spent so much time building someone else's dreams. Like it has to matter less about like what are the financial outcomes at the end of the 1, 3, and 5 year plan, and more like, are you having fun doing the things and building the things and who you're doing it with? Like that's the good stuff. Otherwise, like I can go work for any corporation and maybe make more money. You know,
that's the interesting thing. Like one of our core values, like we mapped out our core values when we started our business, and we were like, these are the 3 things that we need to make sure that we're doing. If we're not doing these 3 things, then we're off the path. And it's crazy because you do, when you choose a career that like fun or interest or aligning with a passion, you kind of do have to say, well, money is a second thing. It may not be what other people would think is financially successful. And this is in the startup. I'm not saying that it can't turn into financially successful, but you do have to, it's kind of like that. How fast do you want it? Do you want it good and cheap? Do you want it fast and good? You know, that kind of thing. You kind of have to balance it. So what you're saying totally makes sense. And the thing is that I think if you are, and this sounds hokey, but if you are true to yourself and true to the values that you went after, first off, you're already successful because you figured out what you want. And then 2, when you find the people that align with those values, like you said, it's fun work. It sings, it hums, it's not hard. And that's when it gets exciting.
Totally. And I think like, not always, but I was like, often too, like the money tends to come, you know, like people also want to invest in like good people and people doing good work and exciting things. And like, I think that's the other part too, where like sometimes it's easy to cling so hard under these things. And the second you let them go, you realize like the other opportunity you really did want, like coming, you know, and maybe you're investing a little bit or taking a cut or whatever, but like the bigger, it always ends up coming. I don't even know how to explain it, but you know what I mean? Like the good stuff will always come around. And I think you just, such a good point. Wait, what are the 3 core values you mapped out?
Well, one of them is fun. And the other one is, I'm just gonna paraphrase them because we have like long paragraphs for them, but like honest, we have to have our integrity when it comes to a very big part of what we do is telling the truth when we have something. So when we work with a brand, we have 2 sides, like our reviews and stuff are never paid for. So we can say whatever we want. And we've always wanted to have that freedom. And we talk to brands when we're doing other projects with them, like if they want us to help promote an event or something like that, we're like, we can do that. You realize though, if you put out a crap shoe, we can't sit there and tell everybody it's a great shoe. We got to maintain our integrity. And then finally, Meg, you want to hit the last one?
What is it?
Huh?
What is it?
Fun, integrity, and...
I just remembered fun and honest. I was like, okay. I'm glad you're answering this question.
I mean, it's staying true to ourselves. So it's the level of honesty with ourselves.
I'm just focused on the fun one. That's my goal. It's just fun all the time.
Meg's always fun. We have it written down on a document, so you'll have to pull that up. But yeah.
Okay. So, nice annual reminder.
If let's say I'm like a influencer person, I have like 100,000 people on Instagram. Do I come to you? Like, what do I get from you and what do you get from me? How does that work?
That's a great question. So, the idea is we really want to support people that are like focused on the thing, right? Like content creation is like their main goal. They want to do that stuff. They don't want to have to worry about pitching themselves to brands, reviewing contracts, the contract negotiations, the back and forth on content, like making sure the brand pays them, invoicing at the end, chasing down payments afterwards. It's like all that business stuff, they don't have to deal with. that's really where we kind of jump in and just like make it easy for them. So like you go do the content creation, you be creative, you go be in the world, go do the fun stuff. Like let us support you in your business standpoint. And that's kind of the collab. On the talent side, like it's purely commission based. So like we only make money when you make money, which is also nice. And then it kind of streamlines everything else from there, forms, taxes, etc. Like that's all just kind of taken care of. Another big piece of it too is I think that's like baseline. Right.
Okay.
That's fine. Pitching is a big piece of it. Like brands obviously do a lot of inbound and they'll DM creators and they want to work with them, et cetera. But like oftentimes like we'll have an inbound from one brand and then we can then also say, cool, let's get this deal done with this creator. We also work with these, 4 other creators that would fit really well in this campaign. So it's also like exposure and pitching to just like other types of opportunities. We also do this week and last week, we're on calls with all of our talent right now to do like year-end recaps, 2024 goals, right? So like what races do you have coming up? What are your big moments next year? Like what can we be continuing to talk to brands about what you have going on so we can get other deals and partnerships that feel really aligned. So we're also helping kind of like strategize and looking at like the bigger picture of creators, now shouldn't ever just take one-off deals or whatever deals are coming their way. Like people need to be to the integrity part. Like they need to be like really integrated into who they are. So we're helping them kind of figure all that out and map that out also in conjunction with their financial goals and content goals and all that type of thing. So we kind of come in as like the partner on the business side. And then often talent too will come to us and say, I want to do this. I'm going to say it now and we're going to have like 3 talent be like, this is gonna be I want to run across America next year, right? Like this is going to happen. And then we're like, cool, how do we get brands excited about that project? How do we build into a project that's then like marketable and sellable and that kind of thing too? So we'll support in like those larger kind of moments as well.
And so who's running across the country next year?
I feel like there's a few people that have been whispering it and
I know a guy just went from Korea and ran across Korea.
We know a guy.
Yeah, I would think that, hey, you've run across your ancestral home. Now you're going to run across America?
Would be unsurprised if you chose to do that.
We might be getting some dirt on Mr. Matt Choi here.
Waiting for that phone call, Matt Choi. You let me know. Tag me in.
So are creators coming to you more often, or are you guys like scouting out the creators?
It's definitely a little bit of both. I'd say we're kind of half and half right now. We definitely have a lot of inbound, which is so grateful for that.
Yeah.
But I'd say a lot of it too is like we're again trying to be strategic in like the types of people that we're really working with and the roster we're building, because we also want to be seen as a little bit of like a one-stop shop. If like Adidas is launching a new shoe and they want to come and have a suite of talent, we want to be like, cool, all of our talent would actually work really well for this reason, and it's a diverse pool. And so it's a little bit of like an easy check the box. So we want to make sure like we're not pulling in talent that also like really competes against each other. Like we don't need to be signing everybody in running, right? We want to sign just specific people, and that means there's always going to be great creators out there we'd love to work with, but like maybe there's too much who we already have that we're supporting it kind of conflicts with. So in that regard, we definitely have some inbound, but we're definitely always like looking out for different things that we feel like we're not speaking to enough. Or like, for example, we probably have 2 trail runners, 2 ultra runners, could definitely have some more. Would love to expand on that side a little bit, right? Would love to support, we have a couple Black creators, would love to support additional Black creators, like just really making sure we're like supporting a wide range of people. And like, we don't touch pro running. Sub elite is kind of the max we'll go. That's a whole different
I was gonna ask about that, because I feel like I feel like the pro runners need it. I feel like they would benefit from someone like you a lot, but I also understand that's a whole different realm.
I actually think that's one of the areas that needs it the most.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest here. When we look at the people that are doing content creation and influencers, they're now becoming more popular than the athletes themselves in the sport. So you look at someone like Michael Kafusi, who goes to an event, you will hear people shouting out to get their photo with Mike, and they're not you could have, you know, I don't know, any name one of the fast guys right now that, you know, CJ Albertson walking by and people won't know who he is. So I actually think that's a deep well to go through. And you sent me down a rabbit hole because I was like, couldn't believe I couldn't remember all three of them off the top of my head. So I found the document. So it's authentic, creative, and fun. And I always leave out the creative because it's it really is such a core part of who we are and where we started. I started as a creative director for a marketing agency. So it's just that, like, if we're not being creative, then
it's just kind of part of it.
Yeah, it's part of it. But yeah, it's cool. So sorry for that detour, but yeah. So would you be interested in maybe coaching up and helping professional athletes get to the level where they would be a like double threat?
100%. I'd say from what I've learned so far, and this is, again, the pro world's a different world, and I'm not trying to come in and pretend like I have a lot of experience here. I think there's definitely room for some disruption in the pro side, more from I think from the way I experience it, a lot of the agents and managers are not only doing, their main deal is like the head to toe shoe deal, right? Like that's your kit, that's your brand, and then they basically will get you into races and they manage that calendar. There's not a ton going on beyond that, and probably honestly because the deals are just smaller, right? That's like their salary deals are head to toe shoe deal, and then the other ones are like in a much smaller capacity. So I think in some ways it could be interesting of like, do we inch our way in and support adjacently with some of these other things? Do we inch our way in and also support from like a branding perspective? Like I think the pro athletes that like nail social media. I mean, think of like Emma Bates, like she brushes it, right? And she's figured out a way to both train at a high level, share her training in a way that still feels comfortable and like protective over her, and feel so relatable, you know? So like she nails it. I mean, there's a lot of those, honestly, I think Team Boss does social so well, but I was like, that's kind of the other piece where it's like the pro athletes, I mean, that outside article came out last week, right? About the pay discrepancies, but part of it's like athletes aren't creators, right? Yeah. And sometimes they get there and creators aren't athletes, right? So asking them to play in both is hard, but I do think there's probably an appetite for some of these big brands that are supporting them for wanting some of these athletes to be on social more. Some of the athletes might want to be on social more. I don't know. But there could also be a moment of like, how do we help brand them? How do we help coach them? How do we help support them in that way? So I know there's some credentials and things to get into the agent space. So I'd say we're definitely.
I don't know that necessarily has to be agent. It could be something like, okay, quarterly, you meet with, say, X brand and their athletes. You guys come in, you talk about what they're trying to achieve for the year. What's the big hits? Okay, this year it's going to be Olympic trials. It's going to be Olympics. It's going to be New York City. And you say, okay, let's create content. We're going to do a retreat this week or weekend or whatever. We create and bucket all the stuff out for you. We create like, here's when this is going to drop. It aligns with embargoes and aligns with all that stuff. So the athlete can focus on training. The athlete can do all this stuff, but at the same time, they're still getting the best. The brand is still getting, hey, this shoe is launching that day. Here's my athlete with that shoe. Here's the thing, like all that stuff bucketed. And then you just maybe sit down, interview and get their personality a little bit,
100%. It honestly, could be these like personal branding content sessions, right? For sure. I think there's a lot of ways that could go.
Yeah,
we're definitely open to it.
I'm sorry. You didn't.
Anyone listening?
Yeah. I was like, I'm not trying to like do a business meeting with you and consult for you, but no, I think it's just such a open space for like somebody's going to come in and figure this out and really help these brands that have these assets that are fantastic. Like you said, Emma is fantastic for ASICS because she's graceful when she runs. So she looks fantastic in product and stuff like that. She's fun, like shares a little piece of her personal life with the goats and what's going on. So you get like a sense of personality and fun so that when you see her race, you're already a fan. You already want, like we went to Worlds and got to watch them do the marathon. And the women's side, we were such fans because I feel like I know Kira D'Amato, I know Emma, I know Sarah Hall. Like you can root for them and feel like some sort of connection. And I feel like the guy side, they do a lot less sharing.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I think women, there's more female creators.
Yeah.
There's more females on, social. Like women are just more social creatures. It comes a little bit more naturally to them. So I think that makes sense why. But it's also like my knowledge of the men's pro space is so limited also for that reason. I just have you have to really follow it in order to know who they are. And I think, I feel like this conversation is getting brought up in different ways too, but I think there's also some like friction, right, between some of the pro runners and influencers and just like how they kind of show up online and talk about the space as well. So I think it's so fun when pros do show up and like also like educate and share more, and like we get more of an insight into what's going on, because as a run creator who's continuing to like learn about that space, like it's like so fascinated.
What percentage of like guys do you have on your roster? I imagine it's pretty small.
It's very small.
Yeah.
But it's very small intentionally. So we originally were going to be like female only, female non-binary only, and we work with a couple select men. So I'd say that's a little bit more of like a case by case situation. So it's really like we think men that are really supporting good things. Zach Clark, perfect example. Are you guys are familiar with him?
Yep.
They're Police Recovery. So it's like we do his partnerships, but we also support Police Recovery Foundation and support their partnerships with the marathons, and another just like really nice synergy of good people doing good work and impact space in running. So he's a great exception to pull in there, but we like supporting the women in non-binary.
Yeah.
I have a question. Did you and Megan coordinate the color of your shirts today?
We sure did.
I'm so sorry we left you out.
I know. Yeah. For those listening, they're both wearing the exact same shade of maroon, which Megan, I never seen you wear it, so it must have been kismet. Oh yeah.
It looks very good on you, Megan.
Thank you. Looks good on you too. How much are you, because you're a run creator yourself, so are you still doing deals directly with brands as you versus for other people?
Yeah, I'm doing deals on my own too. I would say I take less deals just because I have less time to be a content creator. And it's honestly like it's just not as much a priority to me right now. It's just felt so much more fun doing it for other people and building momentum for what it is. So I do still share content. I say my content is much more like I have two programs on Runkeeper, audio guided programs. It's my first 5K, my first 10K. So I'm fully in your ear the whole time for every run. And the goals are really, it's like we're talking to those people that are like getting off the couch, right? Just starting to build that habit, just starting to enter into running. And so you're thinking about all the things where you're feeling like self-conscious of yourself and self-conscious of your paces and thinking everyone's watching you and nervous that the watch time isn't fast enough. And what do I do at my first race? Like that was what that content was. So that's really where a lot of my community came from. So a lot of the people that follow me for run content, it's still newer runners, or people that started as newer runners. And it's probably that content has now come out 5 years ago. So like they've really grown into some of our very, very fast runners. But like that's the community I like to speak to. Like that's who I feel like I don't know. I think that pivot point is so fun. I think that's also like was so helpful for me to have people that were just like in my ear to be supportive of that side, of just getting out there and building consistency. And so I feel like that's the type of content I make. It's a lot of like reassuring content, a lot of like supportive content. And then for whatever I'm training for, right, that's the story I'll tell. And so I'll definitely pull in some partnerships into that, but I don't pitch myself anymore because that feels weird. So I'm on the roster, but I'm like at the bottom of the roster. So people find me and like we're on a call with a brand. Sometimes they'll piece it together and they'll be like, "That's you on the bottom," and I'm like, "Yeah, it is," but like that feels weird to me, right? Like that's just not the priority right now, So yeah,
you should move yourself to the middle.
In the mix.
I'm in there. Yeah.
Yeah. Probably.
I also saw you posted, this is kind of related, I think it was yesterday maybe, some modeling shots that you did and how that's sort of not what you're focusing on anymore.
Yeah.
Like talk through that. Like does your focus is just you're happier doing the business side of things?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, now, like to think about it now, like when I used to work for other people, like I could take a day off of work and go do a shoot, right? Or take a week off and go do a shoot. Nothing, it didn't really change. Now, I was like, if I think about taking a whole day off of work to go do this thing, like for sure it can happen. The world's not ending. Lucky I have a team of 2 now that can keep the lights on and they're amazing. But like, I think about all the things I'm not doing with momentum or not doing for our creators, and it feels like a bigger miss than it did before. Like the work I'm doing now and the what I'm trying to build towards and what we're doing just feels more fun and important and impactful and a better use of my time and energy and resources that like for it to financially make sense doesn't always match up, and then just from like where I want to put my energy doesn't always match up. And I think modeling was so fun, and I feel like as a young girl it was always like such a dream thing, and it really felt so unattainable, and it really checked like a validation box for me that I as a young person really was looking for. And I think I'm really lucky I had a ton of really positive experiences in fitness modeling. It was very much about what your body could do, and like we'd be flipping tires all day, like running miles and miles. Like, it's super, super physical. I was not on the commercial fashion side at all. Like these shoots are intense. So that was really cool, but it's also like, it's still, you're a body selling clothes and shoes, right? Like that's still at the end of the day, it's kind of all it is. And so I think for me, I just feel like I've just grown out of that. And I think I've still had so many great experiences and worked with some amazing brands and made a lot of brand contacts because of it. So that door's not closed. I don't think I'm mentally ready to be like, I'm closed with that chapter because who knows what could pop up. But I think it feels fun for that to have evolved into something else and to still be like, it's adjacent, right? It all kind of bleeds together. You learn and grow from it. And that I think my value and the things I'm excited about just are less attached to that piece of it and more attached to other things. So
I'm just going to pull you back to one thing you said. You said it's your body selling clothes, but I think it's more than that. When you look at somebody doing like anybody, you go, and I think it's the reason why influencers are as impactful as they are, is you see somebody that you're like, I want that. And whether it's a tone arm or the ability to be physical that way, to be able to be an athlete or something like that, especially when you talk about people that are, couch to 5K. These are people that are like looking, they're like, I don't want to start this journey and not get something out of it. And that for a lot of people, and I'll include myself, I started running later in life and I was like, I just want to get fit. I'm tired of not being fit. I want to lose some weight and do all this stuff. So for me, it was very aspirational to look at, whoever was in the running space that I was like, okay, I want to do that. If it's going to take a marathon to do that, or if it's going to do that, I'm going to do that. So yes, you're selling clothes, and I might pick the shorts you're wearing to go that extra mile, but it's not, I think it's when people just say a model's superficial or this or that. And I think especially now when you talk about even diversity, you talk about like looking through a Tracksmith ad or something, you might go, oh, there's someone who looks like me who's in this sport,
Totally.
That kind of thing.
I think that's so fair. I think that's so fair. That's probably a piece of my inner jadedness of the child. Because you're right. I mean, you're right. I think maybe I'm speaking maybe from more of a personal standpoint. I think it feels more impactful for me to get to. I'm still working with brands, right? I'm still selling clothes.
Yeah.
I'm still selling. I'm just doing it in a way that it's like it's Erin T. Bailey and her opinion and her perspective, and she's getting to choose who I'm aligning with, what brands, what they represent, what things about theirs I'm sharing, where I think you have no control over. I mean, truly in modeling, you have no control, like no control over what makeup, what your hair looks like, what you're wearing, how it fits you, what you're doing. Like there's just no, and it doesn't mean that there's not absolutely still value in that product, in that project. And it's very cool seeing the whole thing come to life. Like, it's amazing what, like, it's so many people have massive skills to make these things come together. So it's like, it's not to discredit any of that either. I think for me, it feels really special to be building a community and to have a community that I can share and support and uplift in ways that just feel much more with brands I'm excited about and clothes I'm excited about. It just feels like a more integrated like approach. I think is where I am.
Not just a face, but also an ethos behind it.
Totally.
Okay.
Totally.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah. Both are good, right? Both.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's 3 of you at Momentum.
Big 3. Big 3 of us.
How long are your days right now?
We're actually in a pretty good. Right now, we're in a pretty good spot.
Okay.
It's a semi-normal schedule. The fall, nutty. I mean, nutty.
Sure.
Yeah.
I was like, now it's cool too. A year and a half in, we have a little bit of like, we know what the ebbs and flows of the season are. You know, like we've never had that before. So I'd say September, through November was, I mean, chaos. It was constant. It was always on, and never had so much anxiety in my life. But then you'd get to the marathon weekend and you'd be like, this is so fun. Like, it's so worth it. It's so fun. Like, my cheeks are like hurting from smiling so much. Like, it's just really great. And my team's great. I've got one on the West Coast, one here in New York, and they're just like, they're so hungry to learn. They're so excited to be a part of it. One's more like newer in the running space, which is cool, but she's like, I mean, she's a brilliant. She's like a PT and a yogi. She knows what's going on, but like, she just signed up for her first, one of her first like 5Ks and got like a running coach. So inspired by like working with the town, being a part of it. One of our other girls here is like a sub 3:15 marathoner. Like, she gets it, but she's like never been on the social side of it. So now she gets to work with the talent and like has such a new appreciation for like what it means to create content and be a public figure. Like, it's so glamorized, but it's really hard work, you know. And so it's cool to see them get to experience this world in, you know, a way a lot of people don't get to.
Yeah, races rarely happen on weekdays. So I find that like our business, we have sort of like office hours, but then like, I mean, you're doing a trip up to New York for the weekend. It starts on a Thursday and ends on a Monday. And you know, how many, like, you can't really keep track of the hours. It's like you're on the whole time. Yeah. So it's really, I think that's the toughest thing if someone was coming into the business, is that it's not
a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
It's never going to be a 9 to 5. Yeah.
It's definitely, you need people that are motivated to get their shit done. And then as long as that's taken care of, figure out how to get the relaxation in between the stuff.
Have y'all done anything to like shift your, like, you now have like Mondays are off or Wednesdays are call days, or like, how have you guys like planned some sanity in your schedule there?
We used to do Fridays off. We don't do that anymore. But
if we travel from a trip, it's usually the day we get back, everyone's off for a day to like get reorganized and get their lives together and then come back into the office. But it's honestly, but
even if it was like a regular week and you wanted to, you're like, I just don't want to leave my house. I want to work from home today. Cause we have like an office. And you know, we're like, if you want to work from home, fine. You know, as long as you're getting your work done. But
casual.
Our whole thing is like our schedule. The reason we wanted to start this was like, if I need to do a long run on a Friday, I can go do a long run. When I'm done, shower. I don't have to like feel like I've got a boss or anybody looking over me going, you better get in.
It also means we're working on a Saturday, which is what it is. Yeah. It's just a different lifestyle. But as you know, it's a choice that I think is better than the 9 to 5.
God, so much better. So much better. Year and a half in is so much better. We'll see if that continues, but I can't imagine it not.
We don't have the thing is that I think that you kind of got me a little confused because you said the fall is going to be real busy. We don't really even have a downtime anymore. And I think that you're going to find that you're not going to have a down season very soon.
I hope that's true. And part of it too is like, I mean, we're just continuing to meet people, right? And then the more we meet people, the more opportunities pop up. And so a piece of that is true. But I think fall's busiest. fall and spring are busiest, and then there's like a lull in the winter and a lull in the summer.
Yes.
That's so far.
Except for we fill it up. So we have our own events that we do in January and August. So July. So we make sure that it's we jam it up for ourselves.
What does 2024 look like for you in terms of both like racing or any goals and along that, and then also the business?
I am going to do the United Half, New York City United Half. I've really decided that I'm not interested in running marathons.
Is that March or April?
That's in March.
March. Okay.
No marathons.
Too
I've
long.
done 3 now. They're too long. And like also with like, I'm not a fast marathoner. Like I can be a competitive halfer, and like I haven't been able to translate it, and so it just training takes long. It takes so much time. I'm like, I don't need to do that. Like a half is so doable training cycle, and balancing everything else, and it still feels fun. So leaning into half. We'll do United Half. We'll run that with I'll run that with Planned Parenthood this year, which would be great. We're building out that team too. And then I'm going to support, just confirm this weekend, Rob Perez. Mustache Rob?
Yeah.
He's in DC, isn't he?
He's in DC. Yeah. Good friend. He's great. So he's going to be doing TSP solo again, like the week after, and I'm going to go support him, go on his crew, hang out. So that'll be a fun vibe. And that's as far as I've mentally planned so far.
That's good.
So we've gotten through March. Yeah.
That's smart.
Yeah, I like that.
Will you be at Boston even to just, be part of the media?
Yeah. We'll go to Boston. We have usually it's like if we have talent, not every race our talent are at. If we have a few talent at a race, we'll also go to just generally support them.
Yeah.
So we'll go to Boston. We'll probably go to Chicago again. We might go to Berlin. I haven't been to Berlin yet. Might go to Berlin. And then obviously New York will be another work here, but that'll be a big one.
That's
any races we should go to for fun?
I mean, we're hopefully, you already have your Berlin. We'll probably be Berlin, most likely.
Cool.
We will be at Boston. I don't know if any of us are running it. Meg's got her bib.
I have a bib. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. And I think I've been offered a bib, so maybe. But my coach seems to want me to run something a little flatter and guaranteed cold. So
the heat kills me.
I am also killed by heat.
Yeah. Are you? I know you just came off of a tough CIM.
Sure did.
Sure did. Is that part of the hesitation of like signing up for the next race?
Yeah.
Or?
Like right now I'm totally checked out, and like I can't possibly think of a starting line and running hard right now. So, but give me a 2 weeks and I might have a totally different answer.
Here's the difference though. I blew up at New York, and it's a 5-hour expedition across New York. Like totally blew up. Meg blows up at CIM, and it's a 3 flat.
Isn't that is so cool. Like the amount of fitness to have for your shitty races to be that fast is like awesome. It's amazing.
See?
Thank you. It doesn't feel so awesome.
Well, you were talking about my 5-hour, right?
Yeah. I was like, us normal people think that's fucking amazing. So,
I love it. Okay, we have to ask you because we're big shoe nerds and gear nerds over here. You're going out for an easy run. What are you lacing up? Like, what's your favorite?
I'm such an A6 girly. I love the Nimbus 25.
Okay.
Early 26.
So you like the Cush?
I'm such a cushy. I'm like a cushy.
Me too.
All day.
I get it.
Yeah. Love it.
And then race day then, what do you switch into?
Race day. I really like the New Balance. What's it? The Fuel Cell Elite.
Elite, yeah.
I like that a lot. I also really like the Hoket Rocket X2.
Okay.
That's a good one.
Still hanging on to those. Those are probably my 2 favorites. I ran my New Balance this morning.
There you go.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Love it.
All right, Erin, this has been super fun. I very much appreciate you taking some time out of your day because I know you've got a lot going on. So we appreciate you chatting with us. It was fun to get to know you.
Oh my gosh, you two are great. So happy to be here.
Yeah, I always feel like we're adjacent. Like I see you in certain, like I'll be like, oh, she's talking to Matt.
But next
Choi.
time we see you, I'm gonna give you a hug. So get prepared for it. Yeah.
Yeah, I will wave unless a hug is engaged. And then,
Okay, I'm just gonna potentially bear hug you anyway.
yeah. But yeah, all right. Thank you so much for coming on. I think this was great. I think definitely it's our audience for some reason loves hearing other people that are in the industry doing, fun stuff. And I think this is a really neat thing. That maybe there's somebody out there right now who's, a person that either wants to be, taken on by momentum, or there's somebody out there that's like, hey, my job sucks and you can make a difference and do something and follow your passion and make it work. So either way, Erin's leading the way.
Yeah.
I love it. You two are wonderful. So happy to be here.
All right. Thank you so much.